LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Get 2 times membership rewards points per dollar on eligible purchases in key business categories, as well as on each eligible purchase of $5,000 or more, on up to $2 million in eligible purchases per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Only 22 guys on the board, and you can write what you have. You should know what at least all the DBs have, but then you should also know your checks, your adjustments, and stuff like that. I'm trying to build really intelligent defensive backs because when you know what you're doing, the coach can trust you.
Welcome to Football IQ on the Coaching Coordinator Network. This series is about a part of football that matters as much as anything we do as coaches, and that's football IQ. We spend a lot of time talking about scheme, technique, drills, and game plans, but at the end of the day, the players who separate themselves and the teams that play the fastest are usually the ones that understand the game at a deeper level. They can recognize structure, process information, anticipate what is coming, and make better decisions in real time. That's becoming harder to teach. Players today see a lot of football, but they often see it in clips, highlights, and short segments on social media. They're watching plays, but not always learning the game in full context. That's why we wanted to build this series. With Football IQ, presented by American Football IQ, we're going to talk with coaches and teachers of the game about how they develop smarter players, how they train recognition and decision-making, and how they help athletes truly understand what they're seeing. If you want to help your players see the game more clearly and play with more confidence, check out our partner, American Football IQ. They're building tools and resources that help players, coaches, and parents grow their understanding of the game. The link is in the show notes. Let's get into today's episode.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome to Football IQ on the Coaching Coordinator Network. Football IQ isn't just plays, it's anticipating defenses on offense, reading routes as a defender, spotting stunts or blitzes before they land. When everyone's fast and strong, the sharpest mind on either side of the ball wins. That's what we're exploring today with a true master. Joining us, Will Blackmon, former NFL defensive back, return specialist, and Super Bowl 46 champion with the New York Giants. A 4th-round pick out of Boston College in 2006, he played 12 seasons with teams including the Green Bay Packers, New York Giants, Jacksonville Jaguars, Seattle Seahawks, and Washington Commanders. Known for his versatility on defense and explosive returns, he was part of the Giants' Super Bowl 46 winning team. Will now runs Blackmon Football Academy and serves as an NFL analyst. Will, thanks for coming on.
What's happening, Doug? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well.
We connected at Glazers, right? Is that what it was? We were connected?
Yes, sir. Just kind of roaming the floor, looking at different vendors, and I think we're at the Reps VR booth.
That's right, yes. That's what it's for. You roam and learn about stuff and connect. So yeah, I'm glad we got to do this.
Yes, sir. I was able to do a little bit of a background on you. Obviously the topic is football IQ, but you're a very interesting guy, man. You got some interests outside of football, and I know people probably ask you that all the time, but you're a wine connoisseur, highly ranked as it relates to that. What got you into that?
Stress. That's what it was. I think we drank after games. That's what it was. No, I'm kidding. You know what? I think just hanging out and just culture. my veteran as a rookie was Charles Woodson, and he was already in the wine space. And he just took us out to dinner, and he would get really cool wine, and we go to nice restaurants. And then I looked and saw that, okay, he's actually in it, and there's a business to it, a whole aspect there. And I just got curious, like anything. I got curious and wanted to know more, and it led to me studying and then going to school for it, and becoming a certified sommelier, a lower level, and then getting certified in other schools. I went to Sonoma State and got a wine business certification. So I went all in, man.
That's awesome. I went to finish up school in the Bay Area. So, I remember working at a restaurant and people would bring in their own bottles from, a place where they're a member from. And we had to be dangerous enough, right? Like I just remember the list and they would compare it. It was a progressive list, right? So, the top of the list was the lighter flavors, and then you got the more medium bodied to fuller bodied. And, that's how I explained it. And it worked well enough for me, living in that area and just possessing a little bit of knowledge. But no, I think that's awesome, man. Really interesting.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. So let's dive into some football IQ. You played safety and return kicks at Boston College. What early moment shifted you from player to seeing the game at a higher level?
What's interesting is I think just my sheer love and passion for football, like attributed a lot to that. Like I was a diehard football fan. Since I can remember, I watched every game. I collected cards, jerseys. I had the old school NFL films, VHSs with, John Facenda's voice and Sam Spence composing the music. Like, how many people know that those two people, what I mean, at my age? And I was just obsessed. So I knew players, I knew coaches. I remember there was this video called Inside the Hidden NFL, and it was like one of the first big time VHS videos of guys being mic'd up. And just to hear the dialogue on the sound. So I was pretty obsessed just with football. So, I would go outside and try to emulate people like Barry Sanders and Deion Sanders. I would, try to reenact plays and moments. I remember watching the Super Bowl where Green Bay ended up beating the Patriots, and Desmond Howard had that kick return. And I remember after the game, I went outside and I didn't realize how far 100 yards was. And I ended up running really far down the street, but try to reenact the kick return that he did in that Super Bowl. So for me, I just organically just had a pretty high IQ of the game. And, it led to me, when I went to high school, I played everything. And I went to high school in Rhode Island. So, I get it. Everyone plays both ways in Rhode Island, but I played running back, receiver. I played safety, corner, return kicks, return punts. I did everything. And my mindset too, I was like, I just want to be on the field. I don't really give a damn where you put me. Like, I want to be on the field. And so getting recruited, I was first getting recruited as a running back. And then I got recruited as a receiver. And then I got recruited as a defensive back, because everyone got to see different aspects that I did on the game. And then I just got labeled athlete, right? Like the more you can do. And ultimately, I ended up choosing Boston College. I just felt comfortable there. And I went there to play defensive back. It was predominantly corner. And I think my first action was my freshman year. I was a 17-year-old freshman, which was pretty wild. And I was returning kicks, then eventually winning on defense. And the reason why I'm going through this whole deal is because I really didn't know how to study film, right? And I think in college, a lot of times you can get away, in high school, you get away with just being a really good athlete and can make a lot of plays. And I just remember my junior season at BC, we go up to Notre Dame and I'm getting lit up with double moves, right? Like it was, and I already had a pretty good name for myself. My sophomore year, I made All Big East as a sophomore, and my name was kind of circling the country, and I was getting hit with double moves. I was getting beat by players.
That's a compliment, by the way, from an offensive staff.
For sure, yeah, for sure. It is a compliment, but also at the same time, like they schemed me up though, like they found a way to, and it wasn't like, I forget his name. He was pretty talented, but it wasn't Jeff Samardzija. He was on the other side. But even still, like I shouldn't have lost those battles, and the biggest thing from that is that season, I ultimately lost my starting job, which was crazy. I eventually got it back towards the end of the season, but that right there kind of was like, okay, I'm actually getting schemed up. Like guys are finding ways, and I never really did anything about it to try to combat that. Then going into my senior year, this was really interesting. So I was still the predominant returner, and I was, I was all conference returner, and got some recognition. I think I was like preseason All-American going into my senior year. And then I remember my coach at the time, Tom O'Brien, he called me up to his office, and he's like, "Look, we're graduating pretty much our entire core. would you be interested in going to receiver? I said, hell no. I just saw the reports that I was, a top rated corner going into my senior year. And I'm like, there's no way, like my draft stock will get killed if I go to receiver. We had many conversations, and eventually I was like, you know what, I'll try it out in spring football. I'll try out receiver in spring football. And they said, cool. If it goes well, I want to play both sides. And he was like, no problem. You can play a little bit of nickel, corner, and play some receiver, or mostly corner and some receiver. So, Doug, I go into spring ball, and I freaking win the X job. For those who don't know, X is the dude. You're not in motion, you're on the line, you getting pressed, you're getting the best corner. So I won X. And I was like, you know what? I was kind of like whatever it was for the team kind of person. So I ended up doing it, man. And so I moved to receiver my senior year. So that was wild. And it worked out because my quarterback was Matt Ryan. So I got some good passes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible.
Sorry, I was long-winded, but I had to...
No, that's great. I think it really paints a picture for the viewer. I mean, you love the game. You have an obsession for the game. And I think that's really what you need to be successful ultimately, because there's
no question to start there. Like I tell my son, he's learning the game himself. He's playing football and basketball. It's important to be curious, like I know people talk about being obsessed. You have to like want to be the best. And this, I said, you don't...
Healthy obsessed.
It does help to love the game, but like certain people love the game. I said, you have to love to get better. You have to love to want to learn more and be curious. Like that's what it is. I play with plenty of guys who aren't obsessed with football, but they are obsessed with improving and winning and competing. My senior year was pretty cool. Just to get to your film question, or how to prepare to study IQ-wise. So my offensive coordinator was Dana Bible. And, Dana is known for doing some great things offensively, helping a lot of guys, get to the NFL quarterback-wise. I just remember I was just out there like, okay, just throw me the ball, throw me a quick slant, and I'll make a play, whatever it was. And I remember one time I caught a football and I reverse fields. And the ball got knocked out of my hand and he kicked me out of practice. And I'm like the guy, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm already, like I am who I am. And he threw me out, and he was on my ass about like, you run this dig route at 12 and you come back to 10, you run this comeback here, you get the ball, you go north and south, we don't ever go east and west, you better block. Like he was very detailed and structured on what to do, and made like we were tough receivers. And then he would always come to me or us as a group and give us stories. Like he talked about certain players back in the day, like Webster Slaughter, Carl Pickens, and like just really painted a picture of the history of the game and explained to us why we do certain things and really schematically what it looks like. So I never really truly studied film until I got with Coach Bible. And that's where it really opened up. Like, okay, these are like running. Now I know how to like look for certain things. I knew coverages from when I was playing. So I knew the basics. So now to go against it offensively, I'm like, oh, shoot, okay, if I inside release versus cover 2, I need to quickly fade back to the sideline, right? Or I'm going to get my head taken off at this, you know what I'm saying? Or I knew running, if I run a curl route versus a hook linebacker, let me wrap around behind him, like almost kind of let him push me and then come back around. So I learned how to read defenses also by being on offense. So he was probably the first coach that really taught me how to really study the game to gain an advantage, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. What are some of the things that he would ask you guys to do when you watch film and you prepared? Where, some coaches will give homework to players and, expect them to at least come up with a few notes before they meet and give them the game plan and start watching cut-ups, really?
Yeah, I think the main thing he would do is just kind of like a checklist, just make sure we know what we were doing at the end of the day. We were a balanced offense, 50-50, maybe 60-40, we ran more. A lot of play action, and a lot of typical West Coast. Like that's what we were really basic, a really true West Coast offense. And so I think as time evolved, he kind of understood the kind of player I was. I remember there was one game we played Army, and the quarterback threw me a 5-yard out. We call it Omaha, 5-yard out. And I was pinned to the sideline, and I ended up doubling back, went behind the line of scrimmage, reverse fields, and I scored, right? So I remember the next day we come to meetings, and I already know, I'm like, I sat in my seat like, whatever, man, he's going to cuss me out. Like, it is what it is. And all my teammates are looking at me like, yeah, he's about to tear you up, man. And I was like, all right, I'll just deal with it and move on. Like I had thick skin when it came down to it. And I remember he had the play came up, he had the red dot, flashing on the screen. Like he just kept going up and down on the screen. And it was like the longest 10 seconds of all time. And I'm like, my mom, like, bro, just get it over. Just say it. And he said, if you ever do this bleep again, he said, you better make it work. And right there, Doug, I was like, holy, he gave me the green light. Like he said, so then instead of me running like the intermediate routes or, like post or digs or comebacks, I just ran quick game because he learned like, okay, he's a returner and he's good with the ball in space. So I would run slants. I ran quick outs. I ran a lot of jailbreak screens, a lot of tunnel screens, and I would run a lot of go routes. That was my whole package right there. Get the ball to him now or get it to him later. That's what it was. And so for me, and it's funny, I ran into this Coach Bible last year, 2024. And I was like, Coach, and they told me that story. I said, why did you say that? Why did you say like, I better make it work? What did you learn that day? And he said, I learned, and I've been coaching for a long time, Will. He said, I learned you cannot put a saddle on a Mustang. And when he said that, I was like, that's crazy. He goes, sometimes, man, you got to understand who you got and build around them. And that's what he did for me, which ended up unfortunately, I made second team all ACC because there was some guy named Calvin Johnson that got first team on. I don't know if you heard of him, but
yeah.
So that was pretty cool. It was such an experience to go to play receiver full time. And I mean, we're in the ACC now. I'm going against like 4-3s, 4-2s, like first round picks every week. It was a beast and I was a 4-4 guy. Like I wasn't slow, but to go against to see how fast and physical, I got a lot of press man, which for me was great because I'm like, I know what beats press because I was just playing corner last year. You know what it was? And I knew immediately if I can just beat you off the line and stack you immediately, I'm turning that 4-3 into like a 4-8. There's nothing you can do about it. Pretty much like a box out, right? Make a move. I literally wrap my leg and box them out, and I'm like, throw me the ball. So I love getting pressed because I knew I was going to win 99% of the time.
Absolutely. I remember visiting OTAs, I've been to a number of different OTAs with NFL teams. And one of the things I like doing is, as an offensive guy, going and standing behind the DBs, especially during 7-on-7, and you watch the older veteran guys talk to the younger guys about, hey, look at this alignment, or they're going to motion, anticipate these routes. How big is that as somebody's coming up and somebody's is learning the ropes, communicating with veteran guys?
It's huge for me when I was a younger guy.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, from your perspective, and then perhaps your perspective as, you played 12 years in the NFL. So there's a lot of guys that came through that perhaps you mentored as well. How important is communication and, vicariously learning, through others that are actually on the field?
And the NFL is weird. When you get there, it's such a different planet, man, because you come into college with your boys, with your guys, you get there and you're looking at historical people, guys who are globally just elite and legendary. I walk into Green Bay, I'm with Charles Woodson, I'm with Brett Favre, I'm with Hall of Famers, man. And like, what are we going to talk about? We have nothing. And you don't want to bother them. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like that pesky person. That's just my personality. I didn't want to like go and bother people really. And, like, why would they help me? They're already, sometimes Charles Woodson didn't even practice and he got 2 picks in the game that weekend. You know what I mean? It was and I'm behind Al Harris too. It was such a different level. These guys did different things and they had a different life. So it was kind of like, when do I go ahead and ask? And especially because I didn't know them. And that's such an interesting thing because I remember, like I said, playing at BC, playing in high school, like I was a really good athlete. I tested really well at the combine and now, I played multiple sports. Basketball was my second sport and I was very instinctual and I would just make plays. But when I got to the NFL, I wasn't making any plays. I mean, first of all, every day I'm going against Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Like, good luck, right? You're really not going to see 2 better quarterbacks. I mean, a lot of times we went to games and the starter wasn't better than our backup because our backup was Aaron. Football did not hit the ground. If you were a step late, you were 10 minutes late because the ball was on the money and accurate. So I didn't make any plays. And I'm looking at like guys like Charles Woodson making all these plays, Al Harris making plays, and I just wasn't doing anything. And it's because these guys they already know. They already know what you're doing. They already know where they got to get to. They already seen it all. I remember my first Practice playing against Brett Favre, and I was covering Donald Driver, and he ran a post corner post. And I remember he ran the the post. I broke on it. Then he ran the corner, and I was like, okay, like I'm strapping it. I'm all over the corner. But when he broke to the corner, Brett Favre threw the football, but he threw it to the middle of the field. And I remember I was like, why? There's no one over there. And then as soon as I thought that, Donald turned back into the post, bam, hit him right in the chest. And I was like, that's crazy. Like he threw it when he broke the other way. And it was pretty wild. So I remember one day I was just frustrated, just like, I need to figure out this film stuff. Because again, when you get to the league, I don't know how it is like now, but I'm assuming it's still like that. You're on your own. You're watching, you watch film as a group during the day. But those after hours, like, what are you doing? Like, I used to go home and play Call of Duty. Like, like I'm at the stadium all day from like 6 to 3, So I'm gonna go home and like play Call of Duty, hang with my friends, go out to eat and just chill and go to sleep on time and get up and do it again the next day. It was those after hours that I didn't utilize. So one day I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to the facility and just sit in the film room. Because very few coaches, and I had a great DB coach, Speedy, Lionel Washington was super cool, man. But he was more so because he played a long time, he got to really teach us what it's like to be in the fire. But like a lot of times, these coaches don't have time to come to you because they're always in the office scheming up and they have lives too, And so I got back to the facility one night. And I remember I went to the meeting room and the projector was on because somebody was in there. And I go in there and it's Charles Woodson. He's in there watching tape. And he was like, hey, have a seat up front. Like, I'll show you some stuff. I was like, hell yes, dude. Like, I'm going to sit my ass down right here. And it was pretty cool because he was just talking about, personnels, formations, down and distance. It was all situational football. And, he told me how he would, sort it because obviously the quality control guys would break down the film for us. So sort it. He'll look for certain plays that popped up multiple times and he'll star that play. And that when a play showed up in the game, he would junk that play, And he's like, I'll play your percentages because these coordinators are creatures of habits. Like they might, like you heard, the first 15 and then they get into it and then they call what they've been calling, midway like second quarter. They're going to get back to what they do. And so it was pretty cool because then when I turned on the light, I mean, we had one of those 360 grease boards and it was like he wrote like a game plan in the game plan. And I'm like, no wonder, like this dude doesn't practice. He goes out there and he's picking everything off and his uniform is clean. But that's where I was like, okay, not only was he a top athlete, not only was he had the killer instinct mindset, but he was a certified student. And that for me was like, damn, that's what it is. It's the NFL is all, not just the NFL, just football in general. It's all situational football. A lot of times you go against these teams and it's just bodies. Now, yeah, if a team has Julio Jones or Calvin Johnson, yeah, you look for what they do, but it's just bodies. So for me, that was the green light of, okay, this is what this game is about.
It's a ton of detail, right? And I think you don't know what you don't know either. And you kind of see why people have success in whatever field it is, people just have another gear. And I think, have a propensity not to get bored with just looking at the details over and over.
Yeah. And that's a big deal, Doug, because, well, one, I was behind Charles. My ass was not seeing the field. I was not seeing the field because I was behind this dude. This guy was always healthy. He was always available. And he was who he was, he was on a Hall of Fame pace. So I made a lot of my money playing special teams, right? I was the main punt returner and kick returner. And even with that, before I would just catch the football, fair catch it or catch it. And just like, okay, if I got pressure, I'm going to catch it. Fair catch it. If I don't, I'm going to catch it and score or try to score. And I was like, I need to try to find another advantage on how to become a more productive punt returner. Because especially we have Mark McCarthy, he's an offensive head coach. And if you're messing up his field position, he is not going to be happy. I mean, no one is going to be happy, but he was like big on like, do not F up my field position. And so for me, I figured out how to film prep for as a punt returner, which was like life-changing for me, right? It started more so, actually it started like around 2008. I had a touchdown prior in 2007 because I was just a wild person who caught the ball in traffic and happened to get through and score. But there was one game Ironically, it was my wife, Shauna. It was our first game we went to. And I remember I wasn't fair catching a damn thing, bro. I was trying to get to the house. I'm like, my girlfriend's in the crowd. Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers' first start. Like, let's get it. I remember I was trying to do everything. And McCarthy's like, yo, what is this kid doing? Like, he's like being reckless and he's falling. He's not fair catching. He's losing field position. And I remember Robert Brooks, former Packer, was on the sideline. And he goes, you good? I was like, I'm good, man. That was the fun thing about Green Bay is we always had a Hall of Famer or former Packer legend on the sideline, like hanging out with us during the game. He said, when you catch the ball, he said, first of all, he said, if you average 10 yards of return, what is that in the league ranked wise? I was like, you're probably in the top 2. Like if you're averaging 10 yards a pop, you might be leading the league. He was exactly. He goes, so when you catch the football, he said, just get the first 10. It's a first down. And it's positive yards and you're in better field position. Just get the first 10. He said, continue to get the first 10 and see what happens. So I was like, all right. And also that lets you know, like, just get your butt north and south. Like, let's go. Oh, I remember that game. I caught the ball, got like 2 yards. Fair catch another one. Then I remember I caught the next one, got a good positive return. It was like 10 yards. I was like, okay, now I got some rhythm. Next time I caught it, I got 10, cut through, boom, rib, right? Got to the house. And it was pretty cool. So that was one of the first notes. But then you get into situations like, okay, you might have a left-footed punter, right? The ball, if it's a left-footed punter, the ball's going to roll into my right hand. I actually have a football hand. That's cool. And if you're a right-footed punter, you catch it, it's going to spin and roll into my left side. Because sometimes guys, and I'm not mad at guys catching it here, but sometimes you do this and it'll roll off or cut through. I used to catch it almost like a baby, like how you hold a child. So I would catch it. I knew it was a left-footed punter, so it was going to go boom right into my right arm. So just knowing what kind of punter I had. So it was really important for me to see it truly off the foot. Like I'm always leaning to see it like, okay, because as soon as he hits it, I can find it, locate it immediately. So one, what kind of punter you have, left-footed, right-footer, see it off the foot so you can get to the spot quicker. Because sometimes you're just looking for it and all of a sudden, boom, the ball pops up and you're like, oh, shoot, like I got to go find it, right? Because a lot of times guys are directional punter. Then I got to understand, okay, are we rushing? Are we double teaming, right? That means we have a 6 box. And if we have a 6 box with double teaming, who's the free runner? It's going to be the personal protector. So I don't need to worry about anybody else. I know my guys outside are going to like whoop him. So I'm not too concerned. If they get beat, then that's crazy. I know the one person that can split my head in half is going to be the personal protector. So if I'm looking for the punt, I'm keying him and that's it. So that helped me eliminate like looking all over the place. If it's 7 box, right? Now that means somebody is single. So now I just need to watch that person. He's getting doubled. Somebody has the personal protector because he has to stay now and protect because someone else is going to rush. Then if it's an 8 box, we're rushing 8, then pretty much I know like there's a good chance I might fair catch this football because both of them are singled up and who knows what's going to happen, right? So that allowed me to not just worry about the punt and, okay, who's going to come and put pressure. So for me, it just eliminated so much. So now I know, okay, 6 box, get to the spot. I'm watching him. Is he a DB? Is he a linebacker? Is he a running back? If he's a corner, he's probably gonna get there quicker. So that allowed me to be more productive. So because I wasn't playing much on defense, I learned how to maximize my opportunity as a punt returner, which to me, I was like, I can't believe I did that. Like no one taught me that. It was something that I had to do. So I shared that. I remember I did the internship with the Cowboys and Kavontae Turpin. He kind of reminded me of me, just not in terms of he runs complete, he's an elite, crazy returner. But in terms of like, he was just catching and going. I was like, you know what's crazy? I actually learned how to like study. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, dude, this is pretty wild. So for him, he was like, that's crazy. It was pretty cool for him to learn that. So that's an aspect most people don't know, man. You can study as a punt returner.
That's legit. I mean, all those hidden yards are vital. And that's funny.
No question. Sorry, I just went like,
no,
so
man,
left.
I love it. I mean, that's really what I want, right? Like I could ask you cookie cutter questions and we have the list of questions, but I think, being able to go organically through this, and from your experiences, that's as a listener, that's what I would want, right? So
Yeah.
those are some good nuggets, some good sound bites there for sure. Now you have your own academy. You're working with players. You coach at a high school as well, correct?
Yes. I coached at Crane Lutheran High School in Irvine, California last year, correct.
And so what's your approach as a coach when you're working with new players, for instance? What do you test them at all? Do you want to see where they're at football IQ wise, or do you just implement what you guys do and go?
Yeah. I mean, I have Blackmon Football Academy, and like a subsidiary of that is House of DBs, and that's where I do a lot of my training for defensive backs. So for one is when I'm doing like private trainings, this is more so for high school kids, or because if I get the pro guys, I already know how they are, right? But how serious are they? I kind of just don't want to just say yes to everyone and just try to rack up money. Like, how serious are they? Because I get paid to do it, but at the same time, like, I like being home. I don't want to go out there and just be bored. I enjoy watching somebody get better. So like, how serious are they about it? Yeah. So I assess that firstly, just mentally and emotionally and spiritually about the game. I have like a basic defensive back tree drill that I do, where I can really evaluate and assess to see like what they look like, because that will now allow me to customize what they can do. Because some people are good athletes, but they have no idea how to get out of a break, right? Or they get out of the break quick and they don't have the right footwork. Their timing can be off. Certain movements or habits that they learn from other people, like the biggest thing that drives me nuts is when coaches say, when you flip turn, you want to throw your elbow back and you want to pick your knee up and all that crazy stuff. I'm like, that's because they probably went to a clinic and somebody told them that, and dead ass wrong. That's not what it is. So you're trying to also correct a lot of bad habits that they learned from other places. So I just start with that basic stuff, and the way I teach is I just want whatever you're learning to be able to be translatable to the actual game. So sometimes I'm like, look, I might be boring to train with. I'm going to be real. A lot of the drills you see on like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever, is those are great, but that's conditioning. And I don't mind, like, we'll do conditioning. I'll push you pretty hard and where you can, get the lactic acid burn and push through. And, it's kind of like when you're doing line drills in basketball, it's the, you want to check their heart and then their mind and see where they are, it's a character building pretty much. And for me, I want you to learn a technique. You can't really learn. I learned from training just in general for performance. Like, you're not going to improve with fatigue muscles. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna. That's where the whole Whoop watches and the rings and all that stuff came out, because it's measuring your HRV. I used to have this sensor. I had maybe like 12, 15 years ago, a sensor that someone sent to me, where I would, test it on my finger. If I was in the yellow or the green, it said, okay, I can push it today. If I was in the red, it told me to back off, because you're not going to have any gains. You're going to actually set yourself back more. So in my training approach is like, you'll learn the technique and you'll be able to get the muscle memory when you're fresh. And so anything I do is straight technical. Even some of the drills I do, it'll go straight into coverages. I want to get their playbook so that we can continue to master the techniques that they're taught and use, and also show them and tell them the whys, So it's more of that for me. It's straight football IQ. When agents will hire me to train their guys, I was like, look, we're going to be in the classroom 70% of the time. I'm going to tell you that right now. We'll go on the field, but you're going to thank me later, because I'm telling you right now, the league is all it is. That's all it is. Because everybody's good. Everybody's fast. Everyone's talented. Like, that's just what it is. But telling you this right here, and they thank me later, because a lot of guys I get, which I understand, I was the same way. When I put these DBs on the board, these college DBs on the board, they just write what they got. They just write their position.
They don't know what the other 10 guys have, right?
But that's okay, because if they did their job, that's the most important thing they had, But if it's between player A, who has, let's say, who made all first team all conference, right? And you got player B who also made first team all conference. And you interview them both, you meet with them both. This guy's like, yeah, I got this play. This is what I got. And this guy's like, yeah, we got this. This is my play, my job. This guy has this. We usually run this against this, and gives you a little more depth. You're kind of like, okay, I can probably trust this guy and give him a little more because of what he has. When I get the guys, I don't really need them to tell me what everyone has. Like, I don't expect you to tell me what, what Oki front is. Not a big deal. First of all, give me 22 guys on the board.
Yeah, that's a win.
Let's start there. You know what I mean? Give me 22 guys on the board and just, you can write what you have. You should know what at least all the DBs have like that. Let's just start there, but then you should also know like your checks, your adjustments, and stuff like that. That's really how I work. I'm trying to build really intelligent defensive backs. At the end of the day, when you know what you're doing, the coach can trust you. And that's what we try to build.
Today's episode is presented by American Football IQ. One of the biggest challenges coaches face right now is this. Players are seeing more football than ever, but they are not always learning how to understand the game in full context. They watch clips, they see highlights, but they don't always learn how to recognize coverage, identify fronts, understand leverage, or connect what is happening before and after the snap. That is why tools that help teach football IQ matter. American Football IQ is built to help players learn the game visually through flashcards that train recognitions, coverages, fronts, protections, gap control, the kind of things players have to see faster if they want to play fast. This is not just about memorizing terms. It's about helping players recognize patterns quicker, process information faster, and play with more confidence when the ball is snapped. So whether you're coaching quarterbacks, skill guys, linemen, or just looking for a better way to teach the game, check out American Football IQ and see how they are helping players build real understanding that carries to the field. You can start with Volume 1 or get the full bundle at AmericanFootballIQ.com. There is also an online community that can be accessed on the AmericanFootballIQ.com website, where each flashcard has a video explaining it in more detail with film. Play fast. How technical do you get, right? Like they run a quarter scheme and you start getting closer into the red zone, certain types of route combinations that offenses are going to use. And, you can't run one blanket type of quarters, right? So, do you get into the nitty gritty and start talking about like, hey, they run this concept, double fin routes with the corner by number 3. And how are you going to then use a coverage modifier to take that away? Do you get into that type of detail?
It depends because I don't want to speak for their coach. So pretty much I want to know like how are they playing it? And if a coach is like, they want me to pass off number 1 to the nickel, they want me to fall off and get the corner, and they want the safety to stay inside, right? We call it NDY7. And he'd be like, I don't understand why. And I'm like, okay, this is why. Whether I agree with it or not, this is why. This because fortunately for me, being on multiple teams, I played in multiple schemes, right? And I have multiple philosophies. I've seen it not work. I've seen it work. I've seen us be stressed out doing it and we still made it work. And I understand why. A lot of it too can be based on personnel, right? We want to run it like this because we know we might have a Sam linebacker that's, a little suspect. So we want to try to protect them with this sort of coverage, right? You may have a player, like I said, like the Sam backer who's, he's a little suspect in certain things, or you might have a safety who's like, yeah, he's really great in, run fits and stuff like that. But once you get into an area, especially in the red zone where stuff happens faster, right? I had a coach tell me that in the red zone that the field is wider than it is longer, right? So stuff happens right now when you get down there. I also like to get some feedback. Let me talk to your coach. And so now we have a working circle when it comes down to it, Or the cool thing is I pretty much have every GM, or I did every GM in my phone right now. I probably have like maybe 26 of the 32 GMs. So when I'm working with a guy, I'll call the GM like, hey, what do you think of this guy? We think this. Instead of me giving the assessment, I got it straight from the source. I'm like, this is what he said. This is it. So let's go get it,
That's great. I love that. That'd be fun to be a fly on the wall when you're talking through that stuff in the classroom. Now, do you have access to a library? Or do you spend time cutting stuff up, getting it ready for your teaching materials when you're working with guys?
Yeah, I have all 22s for pretty much every league. So I do have that access, which is gold, So I do have access to that stuff, which helps me with everybody. Even when I was coaching high school last year, instead of like showing my stuff, I can show guys, more current guys who they can connect with and be like, hey, this is why. I know you saw the highlight of him doing the high step, but this is why he made that play. We're running cover 3 too. This is what we're doing. And this is what it looks like, guys. When I'm telling the nickel, you got to buzz to and through the numbers, this is why, because you want to clear any of the curl routes or whatever it is. You want to protect the flat, but also if they're running China 7, you want to try to be underneath that corner route because the corner is gone, or the corner can't get there because he's a China route. So you wanted me to high-low both of those. This is what it looks like. Derek Stingley just made the play there. You know what I mean? And so I use it for a lot of references because especially today, kids are more visual when you're showing them. Unfortunate, but a lot of them don't watch football. They don't. They're playing 7-on-7 all the time, and they never really watch what's going on TV.
I keep hearing that, right? And that's what I see as well. You know, like your story, how you started off talking about you love the game and, you know, you consume the game. I was the same way. I would know where every player went to college. It's probably a little obsessive, but
No, look, that's great though. But also too, like we didn't have highlights accessible to our phones like we do right now. You know,
that's true.
Yeah, you can see everything right now. You can, hey, what's going on? And you know, I know a lot of guys who are on TV and you know they might not watch a game, but they'll go see a clip. They're like, okay, yeah, he did this here. I get it. It's the attention span is not the same because that's when the game was on, that was it. Or you're gonna miss what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And if you didn't have cable, you didn't have the ESPN highlights. So I get it from that perspective, but also too, that's where you can see the difference of the players who do have the high IQ. Those players either have really good coaches who are willing to teach, or that kid is legit obsessed with the game and loves to learn. So you have one or the other. You have kids who love to learn, who are curious like I was, or you have the coaches who are really good teachers. And those are the kids you see that are pretty successful in terms of like what their IQ is. Because right now, I mean, athletically, these kids today are off the charts. You know, I think today these kids are more athletic in terms of their physical attributes. But I don't know IQ wise if it's the same, because I know a lot of these kids don't really study, man. They're put in tough situations where a coach is like, hey, I mean, let me just get the best athletes and put these guys in 2-man, put them in cover 2. You know, even cover 2, these guys mess it up. So it's an interesting world, man. So I try to be that one person that helps everybody understand it, because I didn't play 12 years because I was a Pro Bowler. I played 12 years because I knew what the hell I was doing. So it was a blessing. It's funny, what hurt my draft status ultimately helped my career, right? I played corner, you know, returner and receiver. So they were like, okay, he can do a lot, but he didn't master a position. Then I get into the NFL and I played corner. I played nickel. I mostly played nickel. Then I played dime. Then I played safety. Then I played strong safety. Then actually, his was funny. When I was in Jacksonville, we had Will Blackmon, I think he was suspended at the time. We had a couple of receivers injured. And so I remember Jed Fish was with us at the time. He was like, you guys know Will played receiver in college, right? You're like, if we are in a pinch, we can make a package for him. And I was like, that'd be crazy if I got to play receiver in the league. So I remember staying after practice and I had to catch passes from Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne. And I literally stayed after and I was just running routes. And they were like, okay, we're good. So they said, hey, we'll call it this package and we'll get ready. And I think we were playing the Broncos that week. And then 2 guys got healthy. And I was like, come on, man. What? I would have been so turned up if I got to be one of the few guys that play both sides of the football in the history of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's awesome. It's a testament to what you're able to absorb.
I just like football, Doug. It's that simple.
I love it, man. So just a couple more questions here. You're an analyst, so you travel across the country. What are some things that you're seeing, you know, from, you know, obviously we could talk NIL, we could talk all that stuff, but, you know, from just going and meeting with these staffs.
And schematically and stuff?
Like schematically, like what are you seeing now? Like what personnels, what play concepts are being used to attack defenses? And then, you know, what type of coverages are you seeing?
This is going to sound crazy, but I feel like offensively, I feel like everybody's doing the same thing.
11 personnel pretty much across the board.
Yes, 11 personnel is the predominant personnel you'll see. Obviously, you know, you have the clap, you don't really have many, you know, adjustments. You have the licky to the sideline. And, you know, I'm seeing a lot of the glorified runs, the wide screens, right? Pick it up, throw it outside, do what you can. Pick it up, throw it outside, RPO, quick. It's kind of like a more modern, you still see the West Coast influences, is what I'm trying to say, right? High percentage passes. That's what you're still seeing. Quarterback, no need to read. You know where you're going, which is not a big deal to me. Just understand like what's happening, what's going on. And that's pretty much what I'm seeing offensively. Quick game. You got a dude out there, try to find a way to, you know, get him the big play. You're seeing running back by committee unless you have a dude. And so that's kind of really what you're seeing offensively. And defensively, what I'm seeing are when they have a really good defensive coordinator who is able to get guys right, you can see like the differences. You can see how smart guys are, how they're communicating, because it's very, very glaring in terms of, I think Scotty Hamilton, I think his name is.
I have a buddy on the offensive side there. I don't know the defensive guys. Dicker's the head coach, and then
who is a machine. Coach Dicker, I don't know how long he's gonna last there. He's gonna go somewhere else. He's that good, I think. Yeah, Scotty Hazelton is the name. Scott Hamilton, I think, is the Olympic skier. Ice skater. Yes, the guy who did the backflip. Yeah, Scotty Hazelton. He's someone I mentioned him because I just his just what he does and how everyone does their job and communicates, and they're interchangeable, and they just line up and do really good things. So I look at stuff like that. Like a really good coordinator on defense, man, is the difference. And then offensively, you see a lot of the same schemes what they're doing. And then at the end of the day, you got a pass rush that's going to reign supreme. Yeah, so that's really what I see. And then too, offensively, if your quarterback, you got to move. You got to be able to be mobile. He has to.
What do you think about Mendoza? He's not the most mobile guy. He's not.
Yeah, when he needs to be.
Yeah.
But he was also good. He was also good at, he understands what's going on. Like his mind protects himself. I got to get it out now. There's some plays he knows like, okay, I'm going to get lit up, but I can protect myself mentally because I can anticipate. The fact that he can anticipate is 99% of why he's successful and probably most likely going to be the first pick.
No doubt. And they didn't do a ton scheme wise, offensively.
No, they didn't. But guys, I'm saying the guys did their job.
Yeah, for sure. Who are some players that you saw this last year as an analyst that you were really impressed by, whatever position?
Pro and college?
Yeah, pro and college. Yep.
I love pretty much Seattle's like entire secondary. I think what the tenacity they played with was really cool because you can play that hard, but they were very, very, very smart in terms of what they were doing as an entire group. I liked them a lot. In college, I liked Terrell Kidd from Clemson. I got to call a couple of games from him. And I don't know, there's something about me something I like about Carson Beck. I don't know, there's something about it. I think if he's with the right person, the right place. I got two quarterbacks that are interesting for me, Carson Beck and Kyron Drones, both ACC guys because I covered them last year. And I think if they go in the right place.
Who was the second guy you mentioned?
Kyron Drones from Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Yeah, but two quarterbacks. And they're interesting. I feel like they just go to the right place with the right guy. Like, I think they might have a chance. Who knows?
It was interesting. I remember hearing Tom Brady talk about, he's been on all these podcasts and interviewed a ton, but he talked about, offensive coordinators aren't really held the same standard that quarterbacks are, right? Like people will say that there's this timeline on a quarterback and whether he's a bust or not. And Brady's like, well, why don't you look at who's developing them, and what room are they in? How are they being utilized? It's such a big thing, in regards to coaches. We as coaches, sometimes, at least speaking for myself, you kind of get caught into your identity on what types of plays you want to run and what you think players should be able to handle. And then you fail to realize, okay, this person cannot do these sets of plays really well, or they really get distracted if they turn their back to the defense and then got to be able to snap their eyes to an area read, right? Like there's tests you could put people through, right? And we can go down the rabbit hole of that, but.
No, I'm laughing at you because, so my daughter, I coach her 5th grade flag football team, right? And I'm literally like before you came in, I'm literally changing our risk cards right now. Our risk coaches, and I have certain plays up right now, and I'm like, okay, I have this really dynamic girl who sometimes gets distracted, right? But she's one of our fastest girls. She gets the ball and she's just like an absolute machine. And I have a play where she'll go and she goes in motion, just a side motion, and then it's a jet sweep. Great play for her. And I do a lot going on. We motion like we're crazy. And I'm like, she's going to forget to go in motion. So I can't put her there. Right. So, yeah, because sure enough, like I know our quarterback, she's super smart and she'll be like, hey, come on. I hate when, okay, she moves her foot. None happened. And they're like, go in motion. I was like, okay, you just gave the whole thing away. Now the defense can adjust, right? And so I know my daughter, she's going to play quarterback half this game. She's going to brace her foot, and Savannah's going to be standing there like, what? She's gonna be like, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this. Olivia is a different girl, and she really gets football, you know? And so she knows, like, she'll actually tell her, like, hey, you got to go in motion. We got this, we got that. So she'll be the person that I can move a lot. But yeah, Savannah, I just give her the football, and she'll just keep it easy. She'll score a touchdown for us. So
That's how it is. The 11-on-11 game, right?
right. If I need a drop back, I have this girl, Hannah, she has like I was telling the parents to watch this. I gave her the play. She has the best huddle. Oh my gosh. These fifth graders, the perfect huddle. She tells them, and the break is so clean. I'm like, that's her. That's
Getting me fired up, man.
yeah, I know, right? It's the most beautiful thing, but she's more like drop back, right? Then when we get into the red zone, stuff takes longer, in terms of trying to find people and be more dynamic. And that's why I put my daughter in, because she's really good on the run. And so I know, to your point, I'm saying like little things like that of putting people like, here, I can't put her there. I can't put her there. This person can do that. Okay, cool. How can I put people in position to succeed,
Yeah.
That's coaching.
It is, man. It really is. And it doesn't matter what you know, matters what your players can execute. And I know it's cliche. But last thing here, Will, and I appreciate, man, you coming on. I know you got busy things happening with your family, and you guys got back from a trip. And so we talked about something that is very intriguing about you in regards to wine, but what draws your inspiration outside of football?
At the end of the day, my inspiration, my motivation is my family. Like, I'm with them. I try to be with them as much as I can. I'm with them all the time. My Instagrams look like I'm all over the world. I am at home. I'm hanging out with them. As I mentioned, which my daughter's game, my son just had a basketball tournament this weekend. I made it back for that. So we're always home together. What I love, just going back to football, I love the mental game. I'm a big boxing fan, right? I love that part of it. I love the preparation. I love the discipline. I love that you can only throw hands. So you really have to find a way to hit that person in the face or the body, because you only have hands.
Yeah.
I like MMA, like you have all the elements, but boxing is a true gentleman's sport. Figure it out. You know what I mean? And you have to get creative doing that.
You box?
So I did some training, sparred a couple of years ago, but I haven't been able to spar this year, and I'm not going to spar because I have not been boxing as much. And I got hit in the gut one time, and I was like, oh, this is why. You know what I mean? I got a clean, right in the solar plex, smoked me. Oh, it was brutal. But I love that aspect. I love watching Formula One. I don't think there's any other profession where you have the most pressure. There's only 20 drivers, or 20. I mean, there's more now. And when they mess up, you know whose fault it is. Somebody in the pit, the engineer, the tech, the driver, like somebody, there's 2 seats. That's it. There's 2 seats. And your job is on the line every single week. And it's crazy, And so I love all that aspect. I watch everything. I watch tennis. I watch golf. I watch all that stuff. I watch whatever it is. I really am moved by that part. And that's the cool thing about right now with my kids is right now my son and I, actually, and my daughter, we're having that conversation, the difference between hard work and work ethic. You put my son in a room, he's gonna work crazy, right? He might outwork every single person. But what is he gonna do when he's home and I'm not there? And I'm not the guy to take away his games. You can play games, you can do what he wants, you can do this and third, but are you gonna make those sacrifices? Like, damn, my shot was off this week. I should probably go outside and shoot a little more, especially now too. Like it's not like these kids play outside every day. I also coach our daughter's basketball team. I'm on the staff for her AAU travel team, and we only get these girls twice a week for an hour and a half. That's it. Like you can't, if you're going based off that $10,000 rule, that is not happening because we only get them twice a week. When I went to go play, when I got to finally play organized football or organized basketball, when I say finally, it's because I've been playing. I've been outside. We play every day outside. And my dad was like, hey, there's this football team. I was like, wait, organized? Okay, like, let's do it. It's probably easier to play organized football. And it was, because I'm getting hit by kids 7 years older than me, tackling me, in the street, on concrete, on hard grass, or whatever it is. So I already had some type of organic development because I've been playing outside these kids now are learning on the fly, and it's tough, especially we're in a nice area of Southern California, and basketball isn't the end all for him. He doesn't need it. I grew up in a different area where I knew getting a scholarship was my best chance of going somewhere because college was expensive. And so, but I was obsessed. That's why I told him, you don't have to be obsessed with, you don't have to love basketball, but just know you're going against kids that love basketball. You have to love competing. You have to love getting an advantage. You have to love the process. And I'll say this, as a father, the best thing that I ever did for him was at 8 years old, I put his ass in wrestling. Listen, I know we can go down a rabbit hole. I know we got to go. But so first of all, he used to wrestle with friends for fun. He asked me, hey, Dad, is there other wrestling clubs for kids? And this is when he was 8. And I was like, yeah. And at this time, he was on a competitive swim team because he was trained. He learned how to swim for safety, and then he naturally became on a swim team. And I was like, yeah, I know Mark Munoz, the former UFC guy. He lives here locally, and he has a club called Rain Wrestling. And so our son went in there and changed everything. He was always a great kid, a tough kid, athletic kid. But wrestling taught him to get comfortable when it got dark. And I tell you what, he is so fearless. He'll go into basketball as a kid, 6'8". He's like, oh, this is going to be fun. He was training. We got back from Hawaii the other day. He had to go train because he hasn't done anything all week. Again, my thing is hey, man, tell me what you want or go do something while we're in Hawaii, So he throws up like crazy during 5 minutes into the workout, yakking all over the trash can. And I'm not there. I'm watching. I got to see it on the video, right? And he takes off his shirt, wipes his mouth. He's like, never felt better. And he just starts knocking down shots. Yeah, but wrestling should be mandatory for all sons. But that's all. I'm gonna leave it at that.
No, man. I went to Poway High School, and our team won the state championship my senior year. And there's a wrestling room. It was written into the will of a Poway resident who loved the program, and he appropriated dollars from his estate to go to build a wrestling facility at Poway High School. And the head coach now, our prior head coach when I was coming up, was just renowned. He was in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, haven't lost a dual meet. And then the guy they got now is national level. So I regret not wrestling, because I was raised by a single parent. Money was always an issue. Getting rides, it was always an issue. I chose football. Football was my thing, and I put a lot of work into that. But I wish I would have wrestled because they always recruited me to come on the team. My boys that I grew up with ended up becoming wrestlers, and I was competitive. I felt like I had the wrestler's mentality, but it never did. But I've heard that over and over and over again. You think of guys that were wrestlers, typically have respect for others, are really gritty.
Yeah, but they're still sure of themselves. So my inspiration is a lot come from the martial arts, all that stuff. And again, I'm sitting in this room, and just me as a parent, I just want to watch. I'm coaching my daughter because they got to finally play in middle school. 5th grade is when you can start. And she was like, okay, football, you got to coach us. She always wants me to coach her, which is pretty cool. Even her basketball team, I was chilling, and she was like, hey, can you come on our staff? I'm like, all right, if she's going to ask, sure. But I just want someone to have our kids' best interest and give them the game. Just give them the game. Just lead them, challenge them, inspire them. I always want to sit back and watch them grow, And so I remember going to his first wrestling class, and they sit down. First of all, he had these kids have journals, right? They're 8 years old, right? Wrestling journals. And he said, you guys need to learn how to become the nail before you become the hammer. He said, you need to know what it's like to get your ass beat. And I'm like, yes. I'm 8 years old. I mean, it was 8 through 13, whatever it was. I'm like, they said, you need to know what it's like to get beat up, because then you get calloused, right? When you learn how to play a guitar, your fingers get jacked up first, and then, okay, now you can play a song without dealing with pain. Because then now I've seen this, right? Tell me a boxer who's never been punched in the face, how to handle it, adversity, already this young. And sure enough, wrestling is you in the mat, nobody else. You ain't got no help, none.
Love it, man. Well, shoot, we got to get rolling here, but really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better here. Will, thanks for sharing that information, man. And I look forward to staying in touch.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks for joining us for Football IQ presented by American Football IQ. If you want to help your players see the game better, think faster, and understand more, go check out American Football IQ and what they're building for players, coaches, and parents. That's at AmericanFootballIQ.com or click the link in the description. Follow all we're doing at Coach and Coordinator Network and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.